Welcome to the Aro Benaiah show. Today I'm joined by Kimberley Wiggins, founder of Profitable Penning Accounting, who helps service-based business owner gain financial freedom, clarity, and lead like true CEO using their own numbers with confidence. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Kimberley.
It's great being here, Aro. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So, Kimberley, what's made you focus your work on helping business owner gain financial clarity instead of just being a bookkeeping?
Well, I've been an accountant for like over 30 years, and I've worked in corporate for most of that time, working with other people's clients. And I've just seen how clueless clients are. And then I can't tell you the countless number of times they blamed me for their numbers when I had nothing to do with it, but they'd never looked at their numbers, so they didn't know what it was. So I just decided, the last straw for me was when I worked in a position where a client actually called me a racial slur. And
Wow.
yeah, and my manager went back through my work, found there was nothing wrong. And of course, they did the right thing by releasing the client from their service, but it was a wake up call for me. It let me see that this is never going to change unless I become the change. So that's why I decided I wanted to be a different kind of accountant. I don't want to be the kind that just does your books. I want to be the
Yeah.
kind that helps you to understand your numbers.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. It's really lovely just hearing your stories and how you get started, what you do. Yeah, amazing. So you say business owner should not let their accountant act like a CEO. What do you mean by that?
What happens is people feel so bad about their numbers. It literally makes them sick. Like, I can't tell you the number of time clients will say, when I look at my numbers, I get a bad feeling in my stomach, or I get a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of psychological truth to that. But as a business owner, what you signed up to be is the CEO, the leader of your business. So, yes, it's okay to have an accountant, but you can't just give it to the accountant and expect them to take care of everything and you not understand what they're doing. So you have to be the leader of the accountant. You can't let the accountant be the leader of you, because then you're making financial decisions based on what the accountant thinks should happen. It's not the accountant's business.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So why do so many capable entrepreneurs still feel confused or stressed with their numbers?
Let's be honest, nobody likes
Yeah.
numbers. It's like going to you've got bills and you don't know if you'll be able to pay them or not. So you hate going to the mailbox to see if you've got bills.
Yeah, so true,
Yeah.
so true. I think it just speaks volumes to spending is easy, but trying to keep account
Yes.
of how your money left your account, it's kind of crazy because it's a whole lot of emotions go through it, and you're like, you mean I spent that? How did I even do it? Yeah,
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will have people that have a big project and they get like $100,000 for the project. And then when they go back to their bank account, there's like 10 or 20,000 left and they're like, "What happened to all of it?" Well, you had bills.
yeah, this is so true, so true. So, what does financial fog look like in real business?
What it looks like is being able to check your numbers every day, right? Even if it's just for a second, you want to review it because things change. Business owners make thousands of decisions a day. And all of those decisions either directly or indirectly affect your numbers. Definitely, I have my business owners on Fridays, they're doing a review of their numbers every Friday. We don't wait until the end of the month. They know how to pull up their profit and loss and look at the numbers so they're not blindsided at the end of the month. They know what's coming through. They know how much it's costing. And things like ad spend is a huge category that fluctuates all the time. This week you may be spending $100. Next week you might be spending 1,000. You just let your ad person go, you know, because the ad looks good. The leads that are coming in may look good, and so you have to check those numbers weekly just to make sure that your numbers aren't out of control. You don't want to know that 3 weeks later. You want to know that now.
Yeah, Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So, what are the most important numbers every service-based business owner should actually understand?
The most important numbers are your break even numbers. You need to know
Yeah,
what breaks you even for your business. Like if I get in 50,000 and I have $50,000 of expenses, then I've broken even. Now, at that point, there's nowhere for you to go but up. So then you figure out, all right, I made 50,000 and I had 50,000 expenses. Now next month I got to figure out how to make 70,000 so I can have some profit, some real profit. Yes. So knowing that number lets you plan and you're not in the dark about your sales. You know exactly what to do to get to the profit that you want to get to because you know how much it takes to break even. And you always have to cover that break even first or you're in the negative. The other number that's very important is to track your gross profit margin. You
yeah,
want to make sure you what that margin is and what you initially when people start in business, CEOs are probably making about a 30 to 35% profit margin. We want to continue to monitor that so we can grow and ramp that up to at least 45%. And we do that by managing our cash flow, the money coming in and our expenses going out, and continually finding ways to make sure we maximize pricing. Because a lot of people might have just a simple pricing issue. Let's take a simple example. Let's say that you offer a service and it takes you 2 hours a day to do this service. And you're charging, just for simplicity, $100 an hour for this service. But then, and you do 5 services a day. So
yeah,
you're only making $500.
yeah,
But if you are underpricing that, see the difference if you increase that for the same 2 hours a day, $250. You went from making 500 to over $1,000 a week.
yeah,
That's huge just because your pricing wasn't correct to begin with. And that is the other psychological thing with people in business or even in their personal finances because they don't want people, they think about what other people are going to pay. They say, "Oh, I can't charge too much because that's too much for other people to
yeah.
pay." And I always tell them, get out of other people's pockets. You don't
Mm,
know what they're going to pay. What your job is to set the pricing and deliver the value. You make sure the value aligns with the pricing, and people will pay it all day long. You don't have to worry about it.
yeah, aligning the pricing with the value you offer. Yeah, amazing, amazing. Yeah, break even numbers and track your growth margin. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
So you connect finance with leadership. How are these two linked?
Huge. When you think about it, finances impacts every area of your life, whether you're a business owner or just personally in your family.
Yeah,
Because leaders leaders don't really have a title. Leaders is where you are in life. When you think about it, you lead your family, you lead your business, you lead in other aspects. So you want to make sure that when you are dealing with your finances, you're putting on your leader hat, not just the I'm a CEO or I own a business. You are in charge of leading that business well. Because when you think about it, as a leader in business, you're responsible for the people you employ, for the people that you have contracted services with, and you are responsible for your own family. Because if you're CEO of a business and that is your only source of income, you've got to pay yourself. Your family expects that in order to maintain a certain lifestyle. So that is why I associate it with it. You can't just say, I own a business. No, when you sign up for this, you sign up to lead.
yeah, amazing. When you sign up for business, you actually sign up to lead. And it's the fact that you just make reference of it that yeah, our finances actually affect every part of our life, and so we have to see it as a leadership role, not just the other way around first. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so have actually more like seeing the finance as a leader, seeing in terms of leadership, it still really speak a whole lot, being that our business rise and fall owing to what the margin is most times, and if At the end of the day, you're doing business and profit is not coming in, that business is good as being dead, which really speaks volumes to it's having a leadership part when it comes to having things changing. Yeah. So, what is decision paralysis in financial terms, and how can owner break out of it?
Decision paralysis is when you are trying to make all these decisions and you're guessing.
Mm,
You don't know. You don't have a sound way to make the decisions. You're just guessing. You're just like, let me see which way I should go. That's not how businesses make decisions. Your decisions are grounded in information and data. So, in order to make a decision, you have to have all the information, you have to look at the data, and your numbers, your financial numbers, are a part of your data. So, decision paralysis occurs when you're trying to make all these decisions and you don't know which ones to really make and how because you don't have all the information or the data. And the way to overcome that is to, as a CEO, be a leader, stay informed, look at your numbers, get all of the relevant information. And yes, when you understand your numbers, you're able to look at them yourself. You're not having to go to an accountant and say, I'm getting ready to buy this piece of equipment. Do you think I can buy it? Really? It's your business. How are you asking someone else if they think you should buy the equipment? No, you need to understand. You need to lead with here's our commitment for the next coming months. I looked at the numbers. Here are our commitments for the coming month with our expenses. It doesn't look like I will have enough money coming in unless I increase my revenue to be able to afford that piece of equipment. What are my other options? I could finance the equipment. Let's look at the finance rate for the equipment. Or I could delay buying the equipment. If you delay buying the equipment, how will that affect your productivity? So there is a lot of other things that you as a leader need to look at. That's why you have decision paralysis, because you're not getting all the facts and data.
yeah, amazing. Getting all the facts ready or before actually getting started just pick a whole lot compared to just guessing and taking any decision pattern. Meaning that with the available resources, utilization should actually come in into so that you don't have to spend everything on things that doesn't add much in terms of the execution and yeah, the running of the business. Yeah,
That's
amazing.
right.
Yeah, so what is one common myth about cash flow that keep business owner worried unnecessarily?
Not knowing. Business owners just do not understand cash flow. If I tell you the number of, I just got a new client and he just looks at his bank account. And I keep telling him, stop looking at your bank account. Your bank account does not tell the story. But he's been doing it for so long that he just looks at his bank account and he thinks that's, we currently have, he says that to me all the time. And I'm like, no, you do not. And I actually give my clients a cash flow worksheet. This is how we start out so that you can get used to calculating the numbers. And the problem is that they just don't know. It's not, they're not doing anything wrong in the fact that they really just don't know. No one has ever taught them how to do that. So I take them back to the beginning and I teach them. We have a cash flow. I actually built an online app. They're able to plug their numbers in daily and they're able to look at things and actually see that. And one time he said to me last week, he said, "What are my expenses?" I said, "I'm not telling you. You should know. I'm not telling you." And he went back into QuickBooks, figured out what his fixed expenses were, his variable expenses, plugged it all in, and he was able to figure out how much cash he actually had. Cash flow is a huge problem for people because, and now we're in this society where everybody wants a quick fix. So they just want to look at the bank account and get an answer.
Yeah,
That's
so
not it.
true. Yeah, so true. So you actually advocate for do it yourself financial understanding. Why is that so powerful?
Because in this information age that we are in, people are so used to just being handed everything. Everything
Yeah,
has to be quick. We're going to use AI and figure it out. AI cannot help you figure out your finances. No. So as we move further down this AI driven pathway, we're getting further and further and further away from people understanding it, actually going in there and taking a look. And Iro, people think that it's really complicated, but it's not. My business owners spend less than 15 minutes a week on their numbers. And because they look at it weekly, by the end of the month, they're spending another 15 minutes and they're done. So do it yourself is not as difficult, especially for service-based business owners who've been in business for less than 2 years. They're not making more than $10,000 a month. You really don't need a bookkeeper or an accountant. You can do this yourself. It will take you less than a couple hours a month, and you will understand your numbers. You will, when it's time for you to grow and scale, and you would need an accountant possibly by then, when it's time for you to grow and scale and you're making 20, 30, $40,000 a month, guess what? You will be so used to having that foundational principle where you actually know your numbers that it'll be like clockwork. You will grow and scale efficiently and effectively because you understand your numbers. You can pull them up at any time and make those financial decisions about your growth.
Yeah.
And it'll feel natural.
Yeah, so true. So, what our small weekly financial habits can improve clarity quickly? What will be those financial habits? Maybe there are particular tools that make it easier for entrepreneurs to learn every now and then.
The small habits are the main thing that I would recommend is for you to just start asking the questions. Get in your finances and start asking the questions. Just don't say, I don't know. Of course you don't know. But if you ask the question and it's not going to feel good, it's going to feel icky
Yeah.
because nobody wants to deal with finances. But when your accountant is just handing you that financial statement, hand it back and say, let's go over the numbers this month. Let me understand this. Because you should be able to look at your expenses from this month to a prior month, see the changes and the trends, and ask, why did it change? You should be able to look at it from last year to this year and see why did it change. When I do that with new clients, they're always so surprised because they're saying, oh my gosh, my expenses were half of this last year. Why are they so much more this year? Or I made twice as much money last year and my expenses weren't as much. What's happening? Because you never look at your numbers.
Yeah.
So you don't understand them. Get in there, ask questions, understand them, highlight those expenses in those areas where it looks like it's too much. Figure out how to reduce them. Knowing is half the battle. If you don't know, you cannot affect change.
Yeah, amazing. Knowing is half the battle. You can actually more like fight what you don't know. And yeah, this is really amazing. So if listener wants to start out leading more like a CEO with their numbers, what's his first step? I know you have actually made reference of this, but what would be your advice to them? Just one step. I know it's still looking like a quick fix, which ought not to be, but what would be your more like your advice on that? Lastly.
Well, my advice would be to start with one thing. Start with one thing. Either you're going to look at your revenue and start impacting your revenue. And when you look at revenue, you can't help but to look at pricing.
Yeah.
You need to ask yourself, am I pricing myself correctly? Because a question that I like to ask clients is, if you took all the emotions out of it and you look at your pricing, would you say that you are pricing correctly or incorrectly? I said, don't answer that quickly. Just think about it. Think about everything you give the client. Think about all the value you give. Think about the time you spend with the client. I work in a beauty, health, and wellness space, and I will have estheticians who want to charge $55 for a facial, and you spend an hour and a half with that client. And sometimes I'm able to say, record for me what you do with that client so I can see it. Just so I can see if they're giving a ton of value. Yeah. And they give a ton of value for $55. I'm like, why can you not see your worth? So we have to work through that money mindset a little bit in order to get them to the point where they see what you're doing is so much more valuable and people will pay for it. I had a esthetician who doubled her what she was charging. And when she told her clients, they were like, "Okay, we were just waiting for you to do that
Wow.
because you give us yes, you give us so much." And so that's where I would start. I would start with revenue and look at that pricing.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So, Kimberly, for my audience who want to learn more from you, who want to reach out to you, and who want to connect with you, where can they reach out to you, and where's the best platform?
You can reach out to me on my website, profitablepenny.com, or and I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as on Facebook and Instagram, profitablepenny.com. You can find me there. And on LinkedIn, I am there as Kimberley Wiggins.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your practical insight on financial clarity and CEO level decision making. Listener can connect. You can connect with Kimberly in the website, which is going to be on the show notes. Thanks for listening to the Aro Benaiah show. Once again, it's a pleasure. I want to have you on the show, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Aro, for having me.